3, 2, 1, you're live. There, we're good.
Good? All right. All right, thank you guys for coming to this morning's Crypto Over Coffee. Today we've got Dan here. Can you see Dan?
No.
Okay. He's going to talk about Ergo, but he's a Crypto Over Coffee regular, extremely knowledgeable. We're super happy to have him here. I'm going to give a quick rundown of some more events going on this month. The big one, obviously, coming up for us is our big 1-year anniversary. It's going to be our 1 year being in business. Blowout party. It's going to be here at Crypto World. We're going to take over next door, have a whole bunch of free food and drinks. We've got a huge lineup of speakers. We're going to be blasting out more emails about that, including the Eventbrite link that you need to click to actually register so you can come and enjoy the festivities. Bring as many people as you can to that. It's going to be an all-day event from 9 to 9, and there's going to be a whole lot of really cool stuff happening. We're going to be unveiling our new Bitcoin ATM. We're going to be demoing some immersion tanks. You'll have some popular YouTubers here in the store that you'll get to meet and have them sign stuff, maybe. It's going to be a really good time. In light of that event happening, there will be no Crypto Over Coffee next week. So we'll be completely preparing for the 1 year. After that, there will be a Crypto Over Coffee on the 27th. We don't have a speaker selected exactly for that one yet, but we've got a couple that we're waiting with. And that's going to round us out for September. So make sure you guys come to the big 1 year event. If you guys get the opportunity, it's going to be a lot of fun. Golf was
it's the 15th. It's the 15th, isn't it? That's what the ticket said.
It's not. Yeah. I'll talk to you about that afterwards.
Oh, okay.
Well, Kent said it's not the same thing.
Yeah, you handed me a ticket.
Yeah, no, I'll tell you about that afterwards.
Oh, that's no problem.
So that does it for September. Let's welcome Dan.
All righty.
Hey. Thank you, everyone. I'm Dan from bowstaking.com. I run a Cardano pool, but I do a lot of other stuff within crypto. What I wanted to talk to you about today is what I think is a pretty exciting platform called Ergo. You know, with the Ethernet merge coming up, in about 36 hours, 48 hours. We're in the last 2 days of it. You know, so Ethereum mining is not going to be something that we're going to be able to do much longer. So going out and doing some research, there's a number of really good mineable projects out there, particularly with the fact that there's a lot of people who have GPUs that they own. And so, like, I own a number of GPUs. And so coming up with a strategy, you know, you want to do some investigation. You just don't want to go out there and mine a lot of stuff. So Ergo is very closely associated with the Cardano platform. There's a lot of people who are part of the Ergo community who are also part of the Cardano community. You know, so I really wanted to learn a lot about it, and so here I'm going to share with you some of the things that I found out about Ergo. You know, so Ergo is like what you would call a next generation smart contract platform. So that's really what they pride themselves on being. So they're relatively new. They started in 2018, really going, and the mining part of it started immediately, but it didn't really kick off until about a year ago when it got going. Right now, there's a $260 million. It probably went down a little bit today because the market's down today. But as of last night, it had a $260 million market cap with $4.55 per coin was the price last night. Now, you know, when you put that in perspective, you know, that it's not even $1 billion. Getting to $1 billion on a platform, if it gets a big community and it gets a big following and it has some utility, that's not that hard to see something like that happening. I personally have seen it as high as $15. You know, so I have been mining it for about a year. It's like one small portion of what I do. I mostly use Ethereum, but, you know, having experience with the Ergo Mining, it's a relatively easy coin to mine. Proof of work, which is what everyone's looking for, you know, it uses the Lycos 2 algorithm, which is ASIC resistant. So you're not going to have, so if you invest in a GPU or GPU farm, the way the algorithm's set up, it doesn't allow for people to come up with ASICs or application-specific integrated circuit machines that just mine one algorithm. So that gives you a good protection on your investment if you want to do some more GPU type of mining, or take some of the cards that you may have and try Ergo for a little bit. Ergo script is their smart contract language where you can easily write up smart contracts. What makes it very good is that they put a lot of research into it, a lot of security, and I'm not super technical on the difference between how crypto ledgers works, but it uses the same EUTXO ledger, which is the unspent transactions, similar to what Bitcoin does, but they've added the E in there. They've extended it so that they can put more data in there that would be relative to or helpful to a smart contract. So so you can write a lot of smart contracts to do a lot of tasks and have it secure, have it repeatable. It's one of the newer ways of doing smart contracts, and from the research I've done, it's very light, so it's very easy to implement, and that's why a lot of people who are doing development on the platform really like the Ergo script and the way the ledger works. Another thing that I was really impressed about is that they do have a strong community. There's a lot of people out there, they call themselves Ergonauts. I don't know if I want to get a space helmet or anything like that, but I do like, there's a lot of engagement out there, whether you see it on Twitter or in some of the other social media platforms, in Telegram and in Discord. They have a lot of interaction. A lot of people who are in the Cardano platform are also in the Ergo community, so it makes a lot of sense from that perspective that people are looking at it. The other thing that's impressive about it is that they have a good treasury, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a few minutes. But having the ability to self-fund, where you're not looking for venture capital to come up with new apps or new projects that can make your platform more useful. And we'll get into it a little bit, but they self-fund certain apps out there. So like if you were a developer and say you had a really good idea, you could go out there and propose this idea to the community and get voted on it, and then you could get funded from the community out of the treasury to help you develop that particular project, which is only going to increase the amount of projects on the platform, which is going to increase its usefulness, which I think is going to drive to adoption and hopefully a higher price. I don't have a huge core development staff, but they do have some really good core developers. And I don't have the numbers on exactly how many they have. However, they do a lot of work. Everything's progressing really well, and they do communicate really well when they're doing an upgrade or something like that. So right now, the one thing that they're working on that I think needs a little bit of improvement, to be totally honest and non-biased, is they're not on a lot of exchanges. Now, for me, I use KuCoin, which, you know, you can, it's kind of a small, it's a big exchange. You can only do a certain amount with being in the United States with them. The volume, I think you can only do up to 2 Bitcoin a day, but you know, that's quite a lot of, I don't have 2 Bitcoin a day to trade on Ergo, but nonetheless, there's some good liquidity. There's some other global exchanges that they're on. However, most of them aren't available in the United States. One coming up is Gate.io. There's going to be a Gate US version, and I think they're going to be on that, but they're not like on Coinbase, Binance US, or Bittrex, which are some of the bigger US-based exchanges. That's bad news kind of right now, but traditionally, you know, if the community's building up quite a bit, you know, the demand's going to be out there for these exchanges, and then the exchanges are going to want to bring them in, and that's going to drive, I think, more adoption and a better price point for them. So hopefully we will see them getting on more exchanges. You know, they do, because they work a lot with Cardano, they do a lot of research and a lot of advanced planning. That's what I've always been really impressed with the whole Cardano. And now the Ergo platform is that a lot of the partnerships they make are with universities. What do universities have? They have a lot of money to do research, you know. So the thing is if they're able to piggyback some of the things that they're wanting to do, you know, the game theories of like what a smart contract platform such as this, how it will be beneficial in smaller or third world countries that don't have the financial systems in place. You know, and that's really one of the big opportunities that something like an Ergo can actually take advantage of if they can position it right and get the adoption out there. So already we're seeing a lot of growth in the number of transactions. There's a lot of different projects already running on the platform. So we'll get into that right now. So one point that I wanted to make is, and if you look at a lot of platforms are driven by venture capitalists who fund the initial startup, and then they get a lot of coins. So that kind of tends to centralize something right away. And when you're centralized like that, the decisions are going to be pushed and driven more so by the venture capitalists to do what's in their favor. Something like an Ergo, where 95% of the coins that are ever generated are going to go to the miners and into the community, that democratizes things. It spreads it out, but it also gives you more stakeholders. And so there's not some secret guy in a London townhouse who's yelling at a guy in Silicon Valley to dump more coins or to do this or to do that. And I think that's really important if you're trying to build up credibility within the community. So what I've done, and I'll mention it a couple of times here, but I have a website, moststaking.com, and then /Ergo. I put all the links to these things that I'm going to talk about right here. There's a lot of links to the whole presentation, so you'll be able to see and dive into some of these things a little bit more detail. But ErgoPad is one of the coolest things that I wanted to talk about, and that's kind of where you can see what's coming down the road, what's being worked on. How can I fund a DApp that I want to do? I have this game that I think could be great on blockchain for the metaverse, and need X amount of money to get the staff to get this done. Then you make a great presentation, and you can actually get funded through Ergo Rd. And you can look at that to see more details. The links in the on the website. Anyways, they used to be called Ergo Dex. Now it's called Spectrum Dex. It's a decentralized exchange, very easy to use. Works with most of the Ergo wallets. You can exchange Ergo into other coins, or buy other tokens that are being used on the Ergo platform. Some of the dApps have their own native tokens that run on Ergo. So if there's a new game out there and you want to play it, you can go on Ergo Dex, take some Ergo, and exchange it with on the Spectrum Dex and get the native tokens for that. And the DAOs will have the native tokens on there, so that's a good way to get in there. There is a stable coin, Sigma USD. It's not very small. It is an algorithmic based stable coin, and so it's out there. I don't have a lot of experience with it. There's not a lot of volume on it, but it is in place, which, going down the road, if the Spectrum Dex takes off and a number of things, there's already in place a nice stable coin. Ergo Raffle crowdsourcing. They have this crowdsourcing platform, so it's kind of cool because there's all sorts of different applications that if you wanted to go out and say, hey, I want to build an NFT platform, and people can contribute to it. But it kind of works so to get people to contribute, they take all the donations or all the pledges into that, and then they give 10% to one random person who did it. So it encourages people to donate, but it's almost kind of like a lottery. So if you donate, you might win your pledge back and more. I'm not doing it really good justice right now, but if that's something that's interested you, I thought it would be very good. The Paideia DAO platform, this is one thing that they have developed now. We've had a lot of discussions about DAOs, how to set them up, and how important they are and how they work. So this DAO platform is called Paideia, and I think I'm pronouncing that right. And there's a lot of information on it, and I have the link on my website. But they're building a whole platform so that you could have any type of DAO that you want executed on the blockchain, and all with smart contracts, with the ability to set up governance and whatnot. And so, setting up a DAO is not easy. I mean, it's not the easy, and picking a platform to do it on is, there's a lot of research and development. I have no experience with this, but it's out there, and I think that could be one of the killer apps that gives Ergo a little bit of a leg up on some other ones if they can automate that, and the chain gets a high level of adoption. And every platform wants to have a bunch of NFTs. On Ergo, they have the Auction House NFT platform. There's other NFT platforms in development, but I'm thinking, that there's going to be multiple because NFTs are huge. So we'll see how the NFT marketplace develops on Ergo. There's also Ergo Lend, which is a DeFi platform where you can actually do peer-to-peer lending. So I could lend someone anywhere in the world, they need to borrow 100 Ergo. I can pledge that liquidity, and through smart contracts, I can provide that liquidity to that person, and I don't even have to meet them. It's a typical lending blockchain platform, but having things like that, I mean, the flavor I'm trying to give you is that Ergo's not just a one-trick pony. It's kind of a small little project, but there's a lot of really good things that are happening. One thing that I really like about it too is that they're building bridges to other blockchains, and I think this gets a little bit underplayed, because the interoperability between blockchains going forward, I think, is going to be a real key thing. The ability to transfer assets from Ethereum to Cardano or from Algo to Polkadot. People want it's kind of like one of those things where you get in your car, you don't have a key anymore, you just press it. You want the car to work. You know how to drive it. You just want it to work. Really don't care how underneath everything, how everything works. That's really where crypto and blockchain needs to get. You may have something on Algo that you like and something on Polkadot, but you want access to all of it. You don't really care how it interoperates, but you want it to interoperate. So they're doing a lot with a number of platforms. There's currently, right now, according to their website, over 20 projects are in development. Some of them around gaming. I saw some casino type of things. I'm not a big gambler or anything like that, but blockchain betting is one of those things that I think potentially could be huge. A lot of stuff in the metaverse, and they're doing a lot of stuff around ZK proof development, which going back to security, we're talking about that maybe within DAO. So you're just giving enough information to verify who you are. It's zero knowledge. So if I needed to buy a coffee and use crypto, and I had it on my phone, and I'm going to send them 5 Ergo for this cup of coffee, which would be kind of expensive. But they don't take down my email address, they don't take down my name, they don't take down anything. They just know that I have the funds, and I'm authorizing the funds to come to them. They give me my coffee, we're done. ZKs are going to be very important on a number of platforms because it's going to give an incredible amount of liquidity, or the ability, functionality is a better word, to give people access to not only finances, but to certain information that they may or may not be entitled to. So let's talk a little bit about wallets. You want to get, so you're like, okay, yeah, Ergo looks cool. Maybe I'd like to get some or start out. Right now they have a couple of wallets. The one I've been using is the Yoroi wallet. It's a Cardano and Ergo wallet. Very easy. It's a lot of these are Chrome extensions, but they still have the high level of security. So you have like a 15-word seed phrase to download it. They're very convenient. The Nautilus wallet is a relatively new one, but it has been getting a lot of really good reviews out there, and like the Spectrum DAX and a lot of people within the community have been recommending that. I have personally not tried it, but I have not heard anything bad about it. The Ergo mobile wallet just got released to the App Store and the Google Play Store. very nice wallet if you want to do something on your phone. And then if you're familiar with the Zelcore wallet, which is a multi-asset wallet, they just added Ergo. So if you want to have a wallet on your phone with multiple assets, so you can have Ethereum, Bitcoin, whatever, well, they just added Ergo. So that's a really good wallet for them to have. So here we go, just advertising where all these links are. I've linked all that on my website. So I know we hit the discussion around mining is very important. Want to talk a little bit about Ergo Mining. I do have about a year's experience with this, and it's all been very positive. The Autolycos 2 algorithm, I mine Ethereum, so I monitor how much electricity is being used. A lot of what's being used, different algorithms are going to behave needing more power for processing and the memory, and then the fans go louder, so my experience has been the Autolycos 2 algorithm uses about 20 to 30% less power than the Ethereum or the algorithm, which I think is pretty significant, particularly in the summer months when the rates go up quite a bit. So how many people are currently mining versus like Ethereum? So this 900 terahash is going away. So right now, when I looked the other day, and it may have gone down, but Ethereum has 900 terahash. Well, an apple-to-apple comparison would be right now, as of yesterday, there's 25 terahash on Ergo. So 25 versus 900, that's a huge difference. Now one's going 100% away, so I'm anticipating a lot of that is going to go to Ravencoin or to Flux or to Ethereum Classic, and some will actually go to Ergo. So, it's not going to necessarily, it's not going down from the 25 terahash. So your rewards, how much Ergo you can potentially make a day, the more people mining it, the less you're going to make. However, the more people mining it, the bigger the interest is in the coin, and hopefully that will draw adoption and give you a higher price because it's more in demand. It's kind of like when I first started mining Ethereum, it was $85, $90 a coin, and you could get 0.1 or 0.15 Ethereum a day, and you're making $15 a day, and you're like thinking, shit, this is a lot of work for $15, but then you hold on, and then now Ethereum's at $1,500, so not predicting it. This isn't financial advice, but, with what I've seen from Ergo, I think it does have the potential to go up quite a bit. It's profitable on both AMD and NVIDIA GPUs. Two really good points I wanted to make here is that I know out there we have some older AMD GPUs with 4 gigs. It does not need a high amount of memory. So the 4 gig GPUs are a lot cheaper, than the typical 8 gig GPUs. So that's really good. You can get into it relatively inexpensive. You don't need a whole bunch of high-end cards. The other thing that's really good is the latest generation of NVIDIA, they what they call bricked. They reduce the processing speed whenever it would detect the F-hash algorithm. Well, that made those cards not very desirable for miners. However, they only did that to the F-hash algorithm, being that Ravencoin and Ergo don't use those algorithms, any one of those cards that NVIDIA has would work really good. So you could get a high-end 3090 or a 3060, depending on the cost, you're not going to see a reduction in the hash rate. So, that's all net positive there. So this is where I'm going to talk a little bit about getting started on GPU mining. This is kind of I'm going to just grab a sip of my coffee, but this is kind of where, I think if you're wanting to get into mining, this is a really good a good discussion to have. So this is you good?
Yeah.
This is a computer I built. You can see it's a tall tower. It has an NVIDIA 3070 card in there, and what have you. And this is where it's a place like Crypto World, I think, is a great place to start if you really want to. Just you don't know anything about mining. You just want to start really inexpensive. You can go and buy an inexpensive PC with a good GPU in it. And the rationale when I first started mining, like 4.5-5 years ago, was I'm going to get a nice computer, and at the very least, if this blows up, it sucks or whatever, then I at least have a very nice computer with a good graphics card. I'm not a big gamer, but you can do like the family videos, and all my family digital pictures are on that machine that does my mining. So it has a number of functions. Another thing is if you have an existing computer, and you've never mined before, this is a really, really good time to start, because Ethereum's going away. Everything doesn't look great in the GPU mining thing. So instead of just not trying anything, if you really wanted to try, now would be a good time. So you can play around with a less expensive GPU. So if you want to go build route, I would say, or buy a new one. Towers are the best, because it's really easy to add the cards into them. Get as much CPU storage and memory as you can. What I did here on this one, I got 64 gig. I got a Threadripper 16 cores on it, it's a little much. I wouldn't recommend this as your first PC, but and then I got like a couple terabytes of data, and then I got some storage. You can see I use USB drives on the top for to back everything up. But this PC that I have here is very it's multitasking. So it's mine right now. This is mining Ergo. I have I'm running a Windows, and through Windows they have a program called Hyper-V, which allows you to run virtual Linux machines. So I have two machines running Hyper-V. One of them is a Cardano relay node, and so that takes up about 16 gig and 4 processors and about 300 gig in storage. And then I have a small coin that I have called Ether One, which is a very small project, but it was the very first coin that I could use Linux on. So kind of sentimental about it. It's like worth, it's not worth a ton of money, but they're like 3 or 4 cents, and I'm making 7 of these coins a day. So I'm making 21 cents, the third 25 cents a day with that node. But then with all that, I have Microsoft Office on here. I have YouTube. I can do all my YouTube video watching. I also, as I mentioned, I have every picture we've ever taken digitally on here, and I can do video rendering, and I got all the Photoshop stuff there. But the thing is like your first mining PC, consider doing something like that, because you may want to do a Bitcoin Lightning node, or you may want to do like an Ethereum relay, or you may find a project where they're looking for decentralization. So having a Windows machine with Hyper-V on it and a lot of resources, it's something you may want to talk about. I know Jonas would be a very good person to talk to about that. So as I said, Windows gives you a lot of flexibility. So GPU mining on this, and I've linked all these out there on the website, but Ergo has several different miners, from Team Red Miner, which is a AMD one. There's Nano Miner, which I use, which is both NVIDIA and AMD. There's a couple of other ones out there. I'm going to talk and show you some screens about the first miner program I did on my Windows machine. I think if you're just a beginner and you just want to try this and you want to do it inexpensively, Awesome Miner is a platform, and I'll show you how it works. But it's a very good way to start. And now out there, crypto world miners, those are actually with Ravencoin, with Ergo. If you want to get into it, start off with one card. But I've several times gone out there, and I don't really have a lot of capacity in my house to add any more miners. But if I did, I would definitely look at those, because I don't think you can the amount of computer or GPU processing power you're getting. I don't think you can really match that commercially, like going to Micro Center and just buying it, or going online and building it, because building a rig is not. I've done it, and you think you get all this equipment. Oh, it'll be together about 2 hours. I'll get 2 hours to it, and then like 3 days later, you're like, your clothes are out, your hair's, my beard's out there, and there's just a lot of things. But those are truly plug and play. So if you want to get a little deeper, I would definitely talk to the guys here. And then the links are on the website, but we got a link to whattomine.com. It's a great website if you want to understand what the profitability is of that day for every algorithm. Now that we're in a post-Ethereum merge, you're probably going to want to visit that quite a bit to see if what you're doing is working and if you're missing an opportunity. Because a lot of times mining is just being smart. And there was there was a coin the other day that was paying out more, and it was it was on the Ravencoin algorithm, but it wasn't Ravencoin. But just the way it was paying out, it was actually paying out more than Ravencoin was, which was almost twice as much as what Ravencoin was doing. So if you would mine this coin and sell it and trade it in for Ravencoin, you get twice as much Ravencoin than you would anything than if you had just directly mined Ravencoin. And so
Should there be 2 T's on the what to mine?
yeah, it should. The links on the web. The link on the website. I've tested all the links. So then there's also Mining Chamber. So I found this to be a really good website for when you're managing your GPUs in places like Awesome Miner, but more like Simple Mining operating system. You get to plug in the memory speed and the GPU core speeds in there. And what Mining Chamber does is they have all the popular GPUs out there, and you can click on it. So say you have a 3070 NVIDIA, like the one I had in that machine I just showed you. You could click on that, and it'll say, "Hey, for Ravencoin, these are the best settings. But if you go to ETH Classic, you might want to use these, or if you go to Ergo, you might want to go and put these settings on there." And those vary. They're just average. You may get better performance, but at least it gives you a starting point where to look at that. So we're going to go in here and talk about pools, because you got to pick a pool. I'm using Nano Pool for no other particular reason. That's the first one I used the Nano miner before on Ethereum, and it worked relatively well. So when I first started mining Ergo, I was like, I know how to use this miner. I'm running it on SMOS. Flypool, which I know I've seen you use Flypool for Ravencoin. They have Ravencoin, they have Ergo if you're comfortable with that pool. That's great. GetBlock.io. If you follow Carter on Bits Be Tripping, he just did a video on Ergo. He's going to have 2 more in-depth videos, which are coming out. I would highly recommend, if you want to get into a deep dive into mining, to watch those videos. I think he does an excellent job as far as really diving deep into the particulars of that. And 2 miners, they have a bunch of in Hero Pool. Those are 2 very big mining pools, multiple coins. And if you want to get creative and mine like whatever the most profitable coin is, I think it's either 2 miners or Hero Pool. You can select your payout to be in Bitcoin. And I know there's a mining pool hub also does that. So if you want to just set up a miner with 1 card in it, but you don't really want to go out and get the regular coin, you can find some of these pools that pay out in Bitcoin or Ethereum or whatever coin they're offering to pay you out at. It's relatively easy, but you're not necessarily going to get the most bang for your buck by mining the native token. I mean, you're going to lose a little bit on the exchange rates. When I first started mining a couple of years ago, I was like, I'm going to mine, but I kind of want Bitcoin. So it was like every time I get 0.007, because I'm a big James Bond fan, I said, I'll get a payout at 0.007 Bitcoin. And I had like maybe 4 GPUs at the time. I was mining Ethereum, but this was when Bitcoin was at 3,800, 4,000. It was right after it went up to 20, and then it crashed all the way down. And when it had that big crash, I'm like, I'm just going to do something really stupid. I'm going to get into this mining stuff, So that's when I started out. But it was kind of cool because I got quite a bit of Bitcoin. I mean, not multiple Bitcoins, not even 1 Bitcoin, but I probably got about a quarter Bitcoin. And then I was like, well, I'd probably be better off just mining the Ethereum. And then I bought more GPUs and got mostly into mining Ethereum and several other small coins. But that's out there. These are some of the miners that I've used in the past. There are other miners out there that you can use. So, a lot of this is on the Ergo homepage, which is I have the link. So what I wanted to show you is this is a screenshot from my computer running Ergo on Awesome Miner. Now, Awesome Miner is pretty cool because you can do multiple algorithms. A lot of it's like pull down menus. So you don't have to be like a mining whiz to get something set up like this. I found this when I first started mining, and I built my first computer with a GPU in it. And, it was actually pretty good. So there's a free version which just it allows you to mine everything. But if you want to make adjustments and tweak your cards, you can't do that. It just has kind of like a ballpark guess as to what settings it should be. So in this case, I'm mining Ergo on my 3070, pretty much tells you what the profitability is. So I'm probably going to make 26 bucks a month is what the pay says at, 86 cents a day for that one card. Well, I've owned that card for a year and a half now, and so I've already ROI'd that card, so that's nice. It's in my computer, real easy to set up. Just wanted to show you, this is how you set it up. It's very easy. You have a pull down menu. I selected Ergo. You go onto the website of the pool. You put the address in there. You give it a worker name. And then you could put a description. You put your wallet address in there, and up here you'll see hit start. Well, it's already running, but usually if it's not running, that's a green button. You hit it, boom, it mines. You can pretty much set and forget. This is what the screen looks like when it's mining. It pops up as a separate screen. So you can see last night I was working on my PowerPoint, but I had a bunch of other things in there. But this would be the screen, and that runs in the background, and you can see how it is, pretty typical screen, what it looks like. So that's kind of it. As I said, links are all on mostaking.com/Ergo. I even put a link on there to the Bit Be Trippin' YouTube channel. Yesterday 2 days ago, he came out with an Ergo video. He's going to have 2 more, he promised, in the next couple of days. But if you're really interested and want to get deep dive into it, I would recommend subscribing and watching him. He's been in here, and we all like him, and we know he does a good job. So with that, does anyone have any questions or comments?
So what does most staking do, and how is it connected to Missouri?
Well, I'm in Missouri, so that's no. So most staking is. So I came up with Cardano in August of 2020 went to community-owned stake pools, and so to promote your stake pool, you had to give it a name, and they recommended coming out with a website. So I went on GoDaddy.com, and I was like thinking, what would be a good acronym? And there's, everyone gets a ticker symbol, so like a 4 or 5 letter or number thing. So I thought most would be a good one. You don't want to be least or worst or anything like that. But I thought most would be kind of good. I thought winner would be WIN, and R would be a little tacky. So most. When I'm in Missouri, Mo staking. Then I came up with a very cheap paintbrush type of logo, put it together. But I have this website. There's no business behind the website other than my staking pool that I have on Cardano. We have it's about 250,000 ADA is staked to this pool, 250,000. And there's people with millions staked to it. But, we're profitable. We do about 3 to 4 blocks a month, and each block is worth about $300 to $400 to the delegators, so we split that up like 3 or 4 times a month, depending on how much you have staked in it. But I'm kind of using most staking as it's the only website I really own, and I wanted to do the presentation and I wanted to talk about Ergo, so I'm paying $79 a year for this damn website. Why the hell not put the Ergo links out there so that anyone who sees this video, and wants to go and see these links can go on the Ergo page. And if you see the Cardano stuff, I've got it all updated. I put some information on there about how to buy stuff, links to like Coinbase and Binance and Bittrex, you know, how to store your stuff. Talk a little bit about Ledger. And that's one thing I forgot to mention. Right now, Ergo does not have Ledger support, but it is under development. And I would anticipate in the next couple of months, they're going to have Ledger support, which all those wallets would be able to interface with your Ledger. I would highly recommend going to a Ledger for any coin you have, if it's available, even if it's not available, like in Ledger Live, you can still interact with it with the native wallet in the Ledger connection that just has your, it keeps your secure, it just keeps it much more secure. It's a lot harder to hack. So yeah.
Thank you.
No problem.
Along that same line, how did you get into this?
How did I get into this? You know, I started out way back in the 1980s. You know, before we had cars and whatnot. No, I got a minor in computer science when I went to college, and my first job out of college was working at Ralston Purina when they owned Energizer. And I worked on big mainframes, and I was doing some programming, you know, and I did that 5 to 7 years. So I was a decent programmer, not, you know, I did a lot of, not a ton of coding, but enough to keep me. I did project management, whatever. But, you know, then I got married, had a couple kids, and it's like, you know, I need to make more money. So I got into sales, you know, and more entrepreneurial, knew some people, so this was in the mid 90s. I got onto the sales side. So I've sold hardware, I've sold software, you know, but then my kids, they grew up, you know, and they kind of got a little bit older. You know, my youngest one's a junior in college right now, but when she was in high school, you know, it's like I went to all their sporting events and all that, but, you know, I just decided I got to do something, you know, find a hobby. So I started brewing beer, which is a great hobby. That's someone, no one will ever say, oh, you brew beer? What a jerk. You know, oh, what do you brew? I like IPAs, I like dark, you know, whatever. I've never met anyone who doesn't like that hobby. And then I was just like, you know, this crypto stuff, you know, when Bitcoin shot up, I was like, shit, how does that work? Because I had no idea. And I was like, okay, you know, and I did some research and I said, well, it'd be kind of cool to mine it. And I got into it. And the thing I found is Linux was very easy for me to pick up because it was just having grown up in the 80s and early 90s, MS-DOS. You know, so it's just a bunch of command lines. I'm not really coding anything, but I'm figuring out how to do stuff, you know, and it's a lot, it almost became a challenge, you know, and then, you know, the mining picked up. I bought a lot of cards, you know, almost fried the basement a couple of times, you know. It was like, I can't buy any more cards anymore, because if I buy any more cards, I'm going to be fried out of this house, and my electric bill is going to go up way too much. And I decided, okay, maybe I'll get into some proof of stake, you know, kind of diversify it. So I was doing some research. Cardano was, at that time, it was all federated nodes, and they were going to go to public nodes. And so I'm like, okay, well, let me test this out and see if I like it. Well, I got on some of the chats and got some instructions on how to set this thing up, and I was like, I can do this, you know. And so I did it. I started with Cardano in August of 2020. Been accumulating as much Cardano as I can. Sold a lot of my Ethereum and exchanged it for Cardano back then to get everything out there. But, you know, it's not the point where it's a business, but it's at the point where I'm making I'm spending about $150 a month on servers, and I'm making anywhere from $700 to $800 in profits. So, no one's going to rob me or be super jealous, but it's a good hobby, and what I'm banking on is, Cardano's at 50, that's the profitability at 50 cents. If I can maintain that and the coin goes up to $10 or $15, I mean, you're making quite a bit. So I found that crypto has a number of good things. It helps me with my curiosity. It's like, oh man, I love cool things, how they work. Helps me out with, I'm not going to go get a crossword puzzle or anything like that. I kind of like the challenge. We've got a new node that you have to update, but we didn't write the instructions on how to, so you got to figure out what you need to do to do that. So there's a lot of challenges, that are, I don't want to call them intellectual because I'm definitely not an intellectual, but they're kind of like mathematical challenges that I like. And then, last year when we went through that bull run, I thought I was a freaking genius, and then, you get humbled, and we're here where we are right now, So I'm the eternal optimist. I think that the technology is going to be widely adopted. That now is a great time to get in because a lot of people are sour on it. But you don't get in and you don't start buying, $10,000 worth of miners at first and you don't know anything. And so that's kind of why, the approach I recommended here was to, start out with just one GPU, They got plenty out there looking for good homes. And, start out that way and then work your way up and you learn more. The more you understand about this, I mean, doing the research for this presentation was great because I knew Ergo and I was mining it, but I didn't really know as much in depth as I do now. And by doing that, that kind of confirmed to me that, hey, this is a damn good project and I'm glad I haven't sold anything that I mined on it, and it also gives you compare different projects. Now whenever I look at a coin, do they have a treasury? Do they have a strong community? Do they have a lot of dApps on it? Are they planning interoperability? So I don't need to go out on YouTube and see who's hucking the next new coin. This is great. This is gonna go to the moon or whatever. You do this, you get a little bit of knowledge on what are successful, what are the questions I should be asking, and then you go and you can make your own decisions without having to rely on other people. Because I'm not the type of guy who likes to say, hey, what should I do? And just like, oh, you told me that and it went to zero. I mean, I don't like anyone to tell me, which ones I like to do the research myself. So that's just me. But
Cool.
Very cool.
Dan, what do you think the Ethereum merge on Thursday is going to do to the market as far as prices go?
I'm cautiously optimistic. I was feeling really good this week till this morning when they had the CPI number, which went up. It's always unexpected. I just never understand how it's always unexpected, but it went up. And 2 months ago, not 2 months ago, but a while ago, I always thought that Bitcoin and Ethereum were going to be kind of inflationary, immune to the inflationary pressures and kind of be a store of value and go up with the inflation rate. And unfortunately, it seems that their performances now are more tied to the S&P 500 and the Dow Jones type of averages. So there's not I was hoping that there would be more of a decoupling of that, but it's tough. I think that They had some regulatory announcements from the White House this week that was very positive on proof of stake, not so positive on proof of work. However, I think that that's going to push the adoption of Ethereum, the adoption of Cardano, Algorand, Polkadot. There's just a number of them out there, you know, and because I'm positive on Cardano doesn't mean that I'm not positive on Polkadot or Algorand. They're all really good projects. They do things each a little different. It's like going to the grocery store and walking down the soda aisle. You can have Coke, Diet Coke, Pepsi, you know, store brands, whatever. You know, there's a flavor to meet your needs. Well, that's kind of how these blockchains are too. And that's why I really like to see when I evaluate them, I like to see interoperability. Are they looking to cross-pollinate? Because you definitely want to have a bigger user base by doing that. So yeah, I'm overall optimistic. I'm like thinking, you know, anything that I'm doing right now, I really don't need right now. And I'm just hoping, like, you know, we come out of this funk that we're in economically, you know, in a couple of years, because everyone's building the infrastructure. We're getting more and more exchanges. We're getting more and more use cases for blockchain technology that right now are the days when I wish I would have bought more, you know. So, I mean, you know, I can only think with the technology going the way it is and all the infrastructure, at some point people are going to say, hey, this shit really works. We got to go to this platform, you know. Just all the use cases out there we've all discussed, you know, just the security and the decentralization, I think, is really key.
Awesome.
I've actually got a theory, and less of a question, that kind of came up as you were talking. It just struck me about crypto not being inflation resistant and being tied to the S&P 500. And the theory is, just riffing because it just came to me, is that the money isn't being generated in crypto; it was being moved over into crypto. So whenever everybody so basically you had this pool of money and then you inflated it. So you didn't really have any more wealth or resources. You just inflated the pool. And so you took a larger percentage of just artificially created money and then you dumped it into crypto because of all the people that had excess cash and were believing in this thing or moving over into it because of FOMO. So whenever all that money moved over, it didn't actually make them any wealthier, except for on paper. And so whenever times get tough and they need to pay for grocery bills, they're now moving it back out of it. And then you have supply demand type stuff where it's, you know, draining the value back out. But that said, there is a certain amount that there's a much slower curve where there is wealth actually being generated, like outside of the financial system or not attached to any one like nation state, that's starting to be generated. And over time, as you start having more wealth generated in crypto, then it will uncouple from being attached to a particular nation state stock system. Just kind of a thought process that came into there until they kind of separate. Maybe that's whenever they'll.
No, and I'll tell you one of the things that I'm looking at, you know, and you know, just even talking to Jeff here about the best, you know, the ATMs. People are coming in, and you know, that's one of the better use cases or better things happening in the store as far as people's interest. Well, just think about that. That's a global money that people are sending. There are billions of people who are unbanked. You know, in Bitcoin as a store of value, or Ethereum or Cardano or whatever particular blockchain you want to say, they all have their store of value. And you know, in doing some of this research, you know, and looking into it, you know, I didn't know until about a year ago that countries like El Salvador didn't even have a currency, that they were using the U.S. dollar. You know, and then you see stuff like this war in Ukraine and China and Russia getting together, and the Chinese pushing their currency, you know, and they're not doing it in petrodollars. You know, I mean, that's one thing that's somewhat unnerving to me is our whole economic model is based upon the U.S. being the reserve currency of the world. So if Congress, and we keep on running deficits, well, right now, if you're the reserve currency, there's nothing you can do. But if people don't want the dollar anymore, then this inflation, this is going to be nothing compared to what it is. And I see a lot of smaller, more entrepreneurial type of leaders in some of these third world countries going towards like a blockchain based system, particularly with Bitcoin in El Salvador. I mean, Argentina right now is in a terrible mess with inflation, and they have their own native currency, and it's 80% a year. I think Turkey's really in a bad situation. So as more and more infrastructure is built out to solve these financial problems, the statistic that blows me away is like only 1.2 billion people have a bank account, but there's 6 billion people who have a cell phone. Well, in the world, I mean, so if you really think about that, you live in a country and you don't have any faith in your government, and it's corrupt, but you have the wherewithal to get on the internet and be able to do that. That's going to lift a lot of people out of poverty because they're going to be able to get outside of their corrupt system that they have with their government, and they're going to be able to use something like a blockchain technology.
As long as that corrupt government doesn't have a stranglehold over the digital, over the internet.
Right. Well, that's why I oppose. Yeah, I oppose a central bank digital currency.
Oh yeah.
That's without a doubt. I don't mind you have a USDT, a Tether or a Binance one that's backed, but just like the Canadian truckers, that cut off their bank accounts, you can get. I mean, this is Mr. Libertarian coming out. I just don't feel, I mean, I'm not a conspiracy theorist or what have you, but I just think that people need to have the ability to step aside, and you don't need Bank of America or you don't need U.S. Bank for everything, and if someone gets pissed off because you wore the wrong color T-shirt to a sporting event or whatever, and you get cut off or for other stuff, I just like the fact that this is like a secondary economy that is growing, and it's giving people a lot more independence. We're in a different situation than they are in sub-Saharan Africa or in the Far East or in South America, because we have access to all the economy. We have fairly decent law system. People just can't seize our property, without having some sort of due process. In these countries throughout the world, that can happen at any time. So if you have a seed word that you can memorize, and they take your phone, you could blow it up and they can't get your stuff, and I mean, that is key. I think that's the great promise of blockchain. It's not what necessarily the wealth creation that we have here in this country, although I'm trying to create as much wealth as possible for myself, doing this. But I think the real application and where people are going to be uplifted are people who live in not the greatest countries in the world as far as their judicial system, their financial system, and their ability to access basic financial services. This definitely spreads it out, and that's why, Ethereum's down today, Bitcoin's down today. If you wait 3, 4, 5, 6 years as all this infrastructure is being built out and people see that this is a way to give them more freedom and more control over their assets, that is where I think, that's why I'm really excited about this. Not that I can make 3 Ergo coins a day, which is nice. I'm turning it down, but that's the real upside of blockchain technology.
Well, and not to poo-poo the 3 Ergo coins a day, like if you weren't in America, the amount of money you're talking about making per month is not a hobby. It's more than they make in a year times 2 for a third of the world.
Yeah.
So I think that's quite relevant to think about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's what's great. I'm not saying that this is gonna make all of us in this room rich or anyone who participates in crypto, but I really do think it's early. And this is such an up and down, up and down, up and down, and the gift of being older and balder is I've seen prosperity in my life. I've gone through some downs and some ups and some downs, but I've always wound up, eventually better. You take your losses when you have to or whatever, but that's how it is on crypto. When my portfolio was 3 times higher than it is right now, back in last year, I mean, I was no smarter then than I am now. I'm actually probably smarter because I learned a bunch of things on the way. But you just have to have patience, and you don't have to go for a big kill. I don't day trade. I don't do jump onto this coin, that coin. I try to have 3 or 4 pillars, and go about it methodically, and hopefully that I get these right or most of it right. So yeah, it's all good.
If someone out there has 48 hours to decide what to switch over to from Ethereum, Ravencoin, or Ergo, what would you tell them?
I would tell them both. So this is what I'm doing. So I have approximately 24 cards, GPUs, in my house. So I'm probably going to do about 16 to 8. So 2 to 1 Ergo over Ravencoin. Ravencoin's really picked up. I think Ravencoin, as much as I was just talking about how excited I am about the Ergo platform and all the things that they're doing on that, Ravencoin has a great community, and they're doing a lot of that too. And you look at Carter's big on Ravencoin and doing a lot of the development. He has a lot of better insight. I think they have a good chance to do well. The other one I'm kind of looking at that I'm not going to do right away, but I'm looking at Flux. They have some pretty cool stuff. I'm going to see how the Ergo stuff goes. I mean, I'm tied into Ergo through like the Cardano, and I really like the community, but it's kind of like, I was all Ethereum for a while, and then I switched off to some other ones, and then I eventually went about 18 to 6 cards Ergo and 18 on Ethereum. So I'm going to try to do like a 2 to 1 type of thing but I definitely want to have exposure to both, because if I'm wrong on one of them, at least I'm not totally wrong. Now, if they both stink, then I'm just like not going to mind anymore. But, that's why you got proof of stake too, so there's a lot of proof of stake stuff that I like to follow.
Okay.
That was great.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Dan.